Hey, good morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm off on my tangent this week. One good idea that I've stolen from other people or used myself in my business every day through the end of this year, so that you can maybe hear a good idea that you like and you can steal it and make it your own, right? So yesterday we talked about Kim and Liz and organizing a Christmas caroling event in their neighborhood. You know, not really my thing. But then again, I think it's going to work, and I think they're going to get a whole bunch of people out to it. And I think that people in their neighborhood aren't going to think they're cheesy salespeople. I think they're going to think they're sweet. What a nice thing to do for the community. And that may or may not be your thing. If it's not your thing, then okay. So you don't want to do that. Well, what do you want to do? Do you just sit around and criticize other people and their ideas? Or do you come up with your own? Or do you take their ideas and make it your own? So today, I want to tell you a little story today for just a couple of minutes, but this was a good idea. When I saw it, I went, damn, I should have thought of that. So then I stole the idea and implemented it myself, which is what I want you to do. So my wife, Jane, and I, every year in June, we would go up to a small town in Southern Virginia, and we would visit her college roommate and her friend's husband. So we would go stay with them for the weekend, and the husband and I would play in his club's member guest golf tournament, and Jane and her friend would do whatever ladies do when we're not around. So a few years ago, we went up there and we were going out to dinner on Friday night. And as we walked out into the driveway to get in our car, the wife said, hey, would you mind if we stop by this open house that's in the neighborhood? We've always wanted to see the inside of the house. And I thought, and we said, well, yeah, sure. And I'm thinking, so there's an open house on a Friday night. Okay, so we go a couple blocks to the neighborhood, and it looks like there's a rock concert going on. We have to park almost 3 blocks away because there's so many cars there. And this obviously catches my attention, right? Somebody's holding an open house on a Friday night, and there's not just 1 or 2 cars out front, seemingly hundreds. I'm like, oh my gosh. So we walk in the house and it's packed. It's wall-to-wall people. It's like somebody's having a gigantic party. And so now, obviously, I'm very intrigued, right? So I go find the real estate agent. It was a guy. I introduce myself to him, tell him what I do, where I'm from. And we stand there and chat for a few minutes. And his name was Ralph. And I said, so Ralph, do you do this often? He goes, well, I do it every Friday night. It's my thing. And I said, okay, great. I was like, this looks expensive. He goes, no, truth is, Mike, I buy a couple bottles of wine and I buy a food tray at Kroger, like a cheese tray. And when it's out, it's out. I'm not here to throw a party for the whole neighborhood. I just buy a couple bottles of wine, put it out, a cheese tray, put it out. Maybe I've got $50, $75 into this whole thing. I'm like, wow. I'm like, Ralph, how do you get so many people to come? And he looks at me as if I am the stupidest person that he's spoken to all day, and with a look of annoyance. He goes, well, Mike, I invite them. Okay, well, okay, kind of a stupid question. You invite them. Okay, great. So we stayed 10 or 15 minutes, which is what seemed like most people do. There's a lot of people coming in, a lot of people going out. As we get in the car to leave, I said something like, well, that was really interesting. And the wife that we were visiting made a really interesting comment then. Really caught my attention. She goes, oh yeah, he's the best real estate agent in town. Now that's a fascinating thing to say in front of me. He's the best real estate agent in town. I said, so Judy, why do you say that? And she says, well, look what he does to get his listing sold. Now, do any of you think that that agent was doing that mega open house on a Friday night to get the listing sold? Or was that really his way of promoting himself? And don't miss it. If my friends had to put their house up for sale that weekend, who do you think they would call? They just told me he's the best real estate agent in town. Well, I don't know the guy. I don't know if he's the best real estate agent in town or not, but I don't think my friends know either. I think they're just impressed with what he does to get his listing sold. He didn't have an open house on Sunday afternoon from 2 to 4 and put as little effort into it as he could. He said, well, by God, if I'm going to do it, let's do it. Go big or go home. So he, being a strong, experienced agent, he's been building his network through his CRM, probably one person at a time over a long period of time, and he's probably got thousands of people in that town in his CRM. So every Friday night, he holds an open house. Why? It's easy. See how easy it was for us? We just stopped by on our way out to dinner Friday night. It's no big thing. Sunday afternoon, everybody's got errands, they've got kids stuff, they've got life going on. Friday night, we just stopped by. What it looked like to me? Just about everybody in that neighborhood, in that area, had stopped by too. Hundreds of people. Do you think his homeowner was impressed? Do you think that's why maybe people call him when they need to sell their house? He didn't have $100 into it. And when I asked him how he got so many people there, he said, Mike, I invited them. Now, I don't think he probably did a Facebook Live that nobody saw or cared about. I think through his CRM, he probably sent everybody an invitation. And he probably does that every Friday night, and that's just kind of his thing, right? But he gets hundreds of people to come to his open houses, and they think he's the best agent in town. Does anybody think you're the best agent in town? Do you get hundreds of people to come to your open house? Maybe we can take a clue from Ralph. Maybe we're doing the right things the wrong way. Maybe. Maybe it's an idea that some of us ought to try to emulate. A couple things there. Number one, do your open houses at different times. I have a friend of mine in Chicago does 120 sales a year. How do you do that? I hold 13 open houses a week. How in the world do you hold 13 open houses a week? He goes, I hold one every morning and I hold another one every afternoon. And I get my work done from the open houses. Okay, well, he sells over 100 houses a year, so I'm not going to argue with that. And I watch everybody else. Yeah, I did an open house, but truth be told, I mean, don't tell anybody, but I did about the least I thought I could get away with doing in holding the open house. I held it for the shortest amount of time possible on probably the most inconvenient day for people to stop by. And I really got there at the last minute and got the hell out of there as quick as I could. Is that the way to build a business? Or is the way Ralph's way of doing it the way to build a business? Keep building that CRM so that every Friday night he can invite more and more people show up, and more people think he's the best agent in town. I was pretty impressed with him, got to tell you. Never seen that done before. Seen it done since, and it works. Folks, watch what other people do, and at all costs, be different. Don't do what everybody else does. Do it your way. You don't have to do it Ralph's way, but what's your idea? How could you be different? And build that CRM so that getting hundreds of people to do something like that isn't such a big chore for you. And if you do, that's how you're going to go out and make it happen for yourself.